Hi guys, today I want to discuss this topic. Since the launch of the CRV, with the top spec being front wheel drive, and then one spec below you have the four wheel drive, and then that goes as well with the Proton X70, which has the same product planning as well, and of course same goes with the likes of CX5 and the rest. So I wanted to bring up this and discuss this with everybody. Now, a lot of people has misconceptions with whether an SUV needs four-wheel drive, right? And I even hear some questions that are from even motoring journalists. You know, whenever it is an SUV or a 4x4, they start asking whether, you know, why four-wheel drive, why no, you know, why things like that, blah blah blah. Now, let's put it this way: the SUVs as we know it today, right? At one point there is this term called crossover as well. There is always this terminology confusion. Now actually there's not much confusion, because it is confusing at the first place. It's not that people were confused with what is what. There are no true definition as of now, because there's no need to. It is just a modern form of car, right? SUV being larger, taller, you know, people like it, and you're seated above ground and things like that. Okay, people love it. Now, let's come back to this common misconception of, since my car is higher, I need four-wheel drive so that it's more stable. This is a totally wrong concept. I hear this a lot from people. They thought that because the car is higher off ground, it's less stable, hence it needs four-wheel drive. No, that's not the case, okay? It doesn't happen that way. That stability of a car all depends on your aerodynamics and your suspension setup and your center of gravity, whether it's high or low, right? Whether it's balanced or not. That determines the stability of the car, not whether the car is four-wheel drive or not, right? Then how does this thing came about whereby they link each other? Now, think about this. We drive daily on flat surfaces, right? These roads are so flat that there are times where even you can't really see any certain surfaces you can't even detect with your eyes that it's not flat, but as you go above it, you can feel it, right? So the reason for these vehicles with taller ride height, the reason for them is because traditionally, or back then, you need these vehicles with taller ride height to go to places where there are no roads, right? Where roads hasn't been paved, so that you need the ride height. And more often than not, roads that are not flat might have mud, might have slippery surfaces. That four-wheel drive became something that is pretty important in that sense, because you might lose traction any one of your wheels, right? So it's all about traction or lack of that resulted in having four-wheel drive or not. Okay, it's not about the car being high riding, hence it needs four-wheel drive. Say for example, my car, it has four-wheel drive, okay, or all-wheel drive, whatever you want to call it. Basically, four wheels can deliver the engine's power, okay. So the benefit, which is like this, right? I can accelerate off, and there are no wheel spins, nothing. It will just shoot the car out, because it's able to deliver traction to all four wheels which is a good thing. However, because it's connected all the time, it's gonna use up more fuel than your normal front or rear wheel drive, which in normal circumstances, under conditions 95% of the time, you don't really need four-wheel drive. You just need two wheels to pull, and then that's it. So it's not about ride height, let's get this clear, okay? Ride height is because the taller ride height might allow you to go to places that you desire, maybe some grass plains, some off-road places, and those places, more often than not, the surface doesn't really interact well with our rubber tires, because our rubber tires are made for asphalt, are made for the road, okay? If you were to go off-road with tires that are wrapped up in chain, steel chain or something, where you have plenty of traction, then you don't really need four-wheel drive, because the two wheels alone can pull you off. Of course, you might encounter situations whereby one wheel ended up in a place whereby there are no traction at all, hence you need the wheels from behind to push it, right? So those are situations where it has nothing to do with whether the car is tall or low or stability or so. That's not the case, all right? And then another thing, I find it funny, why is it that when we drive our normal sedans or hatchbacks, right, we don't feel that we need more traction, but then you see a lot of people questioning it when they go to a taller car, okay? The logic, I mean, think about it. The Myvi in front maybe is 900 kilogram, maybe it's 1000 kilogram, maybe a little bit more. But when you go into an SUV, it is at least 1.5, 1.6 tons, right? You have more weight pressing down on your tire to the road surface. Technically speaking, you have more traction than when you are in your small little car. SUVs, because of the weight, it presses the tires down, you have more traction. So you even have less need for four-wheel drive, right? But you might need it until you go off-road. You go to places where, you know, you are making full use of your ride height advantage, and then that allows you to go to those places. Then you need four-wheel drive. I hope we get that clear and yeah, get that out of the way. So if you ask me, what about rainy days? You know, rainy days, yes, it helps because there might be puddles that, you know, stagnate on the road, and then you get aquaplaning and all that sometimes. It doesn't mean that four-wheel drive won't result you in aquaplaning. Aquaplaning has more to do with the tires than how many wheels are running. But when your front wheels go over something that loses traction, at least your rear wheels are still pushing you along the same trajectory, the same speed, so that you don't have a sudden shift of weight transfer that resulted in overpowering one of the wheels and lose traction. Yeah. Okay. So as for me, this car, four-wheel drive, is for putting power down. If you're asking me whether four-wheel drive cars will put power down better, it's a definite yes. That's why even the new Mercedes E63 is four-wheel drive, the new BMW M5 is four-wheel drive, can be four-wheel drive. And then because when your horsepower goes up to 500-600 horsepower, right, with the amount of torque, that little tire patch wouldn't be enough to hold it in place. It would just break traction, hence you need four-wheel drive. So in the ultimate scenario, is it better for all cars to have four-wheel drive? Of course, right? However, when you don't need it, like now, I'm driving like now, I don't need four-wheel drive at all. I am wasting petrol for no reason. Zero reason. Absolute zero reason. There's nothing that I gain from the extra mechanicals that are running underneath, the extra weight, the extra maintenance, and the extra fuel. So a final recap is not because they are tall, hence unstable, and that's why they need four-wheel drive. It's because they might need to go off-road, hence they need to be tall. And since they are tall, you can go off-road, you might encounter slippery conditions, hence you need four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive or not, they are equally tall, equally high center of gravity, equally unstable, if that is what you mean, as in high equals unstable. Alright?